Okay, so I feel like a lot of people who watch my videos won't even know what this is unless they got around to watching it on Netflix like I did myself these past few months. So to give further context, let's go watch the show. It's on Netflix, it's free, go do it. Hey guys, it's Key, and today I'd like to give you all some of my thoughts on Saint Seiya Knights of the Zodiac. To be honest, I don't know if I'll do it justice with my words, but I'll try my best to be clear about my criticisms. But before that, I'd like to say thank you to my good friend Dag for introducing me to it. I know it's your favorite, so please, no matter what I say, don't take it the wrong way. Secondly, I know that the show is really old, so a lot of my negative things that I'm going to be saying about it stem from its animation just not really aging well. So take that as you will. Finally, as of making this video, I've only seen up to episode 74, which is the 12 Temples arc, the very end of it. So if there are any opinions of mine that change, I will update it as I go along with writing this. So without further ado, let's jump right into one of the most influential animes of the 80s, Saint Seiya Knights of the Zodiac. Saint Seiya ran on television from 1986 to 1989, and it was hailed as a classic in a lot of countries as one of the greatest alongside Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho. But for some reason, it never really caught on in the West as much as it did in Latin America. In fact, when Netflix brought it on a little while back onto their streaming service, it was the first time many, myself included, had heard of it or had any proper way to enjoy it without going through 500 virus-infected websites. But after successfully stealing my parents' Netflix account, I buckled in and sat down to watch Knights of the Zodiac in all of its 80s bloody, uncensored heavy metal Power Rangers glory. Right from the get-go, we get our boy Seiya here. He's obviously the main protagonist, you can tell because the entirety of the first episode is all about him trying to obtain this item known as the Pegasus Cloth. But in order to obtain it, he has to compete in a tournament and fight against this guy. Honestly, I thought it was just gonna be a one-off villain to drive the plot forward, but nope, I was wrong about that, but we'll get back to him later. Basically, Seiya is after this cloth because he was taken away as a child from his sister in order to be trained alongside many other boys to become these warriors called saints, who are charged with protecting the Greek goddess Athena. Each of them was sent off to different corners of the world in order to earn a cloth for themselves as well as a title of saint. But what is a cloth? Well, cloths are kind of a loose power system of this world. You got bronze cloths, silver cloths, starred cloths, cloths that have no power or explanation at all, and the greatest of them all, the gold cloths. And, well, I say loose power system because of the 74 episodes I have seen so far, the Bronze Saints have so much plot armor that they don't even need their armor. This is my first real gripe I have with the show. Despite being Bronze Cloth Saints, they took down the Silver Saints with barely any difficulty, and while they most certainly struggled to beat the Gold Saints, they still managed to come out on top. It bothers me, but to be honest, the fights are still dope, and I sat there munching away at my popcorn while they happened. There are 10 Bronze Saints in total, and out of those 10, only 5 are really worth mentioning since they have main character status. Of the 5, we have Andromeda Shun. He can whip chains around and they also work like a compass. Honestly, he's still my least favorite of the Saints, but overall his well-rounded goodness makes him the heart of the group, and his loose promise of being a pacifist is very true to his character. However, when he does fight, he uses his Nebula Stream and Nebula Storm attacks that increase his overall defense and offense, absolutely obliterating his opponent. Wielder of the Dragon Cloth is Dragon Shuryu, which is one of the most powerful bronze cloths. I thought he was going to be a snobby rival to Seiya when I first was introduced to him, but he ends up becoming one of the biggest softies in anime I've ever seen. His indomitable shield really is the best defense in the whole Saint Seiya universe from what I can tell, and his rising dragon fist is something to be reckoned with. Older brother of Shun and an absolute cool loner type, Phoenix Ikki is one who only ever shows up when his younger brother is getting his ass beat, and it pisses me off. Which is really such a shame because his ability to resurrect himself whenever he finds the willpower is so overpowered and should really be utilized more often. Not only that, but he has this mind breaker ability which I also think should be used a lot more often. Like seriously, why isn't he leading the charge more often? They would die way less often in the show if Ikki would just stop being such a Cygnus Hyoga. He lost his mother to an icy grave when her ship sank in Siberia and has gone to visit her every day. Imagine that, seeing your mother every day but dead, and still looking like this? Like dang, you look good for someone who died years ago. And the reason for that is because the freezing cold waters that Hyoga swims through to see her are so cold they stopped her body from decomposing. He may have a cold demeanor to him, but Hyoga definitely has the second most well-developed backstory of the Saints. It's really too bad he always gets the short end of the stick when it comes to fights. Not long after all the Bronze Saints acquire their cloths and return to Japan, they are thrust into a tournament arc to compete for the right to wear the legendary Sagittarius gold cloth. and oh my lord, this tournament was stacked and so entertaining to see. It's cut rather abruptly though, because Phoenix Iki is here and he's a bad guy, and he steals the gold cloth with his group, the Dark Saints, basically just evil versions of the Bronze Saints. Seiya and the gang don't like this, so they chase after him, and eventually they throw down and win against Iki. This leads directly into the 12 Temples arc, and to this day, those episodes are hailed as some of the best in the series. So I won't be touching on the exact details of what happens, but you just need to go and watch that arc for yourself. Even if you skip the first couple of arcs, I highly recommend sitting down and watching the 12 Temples arc. It was great, okay? So Saint Seiya has a lot going for it. It's set a standard still used in Shonen Jump today, with evil groups, power-ups, and fights with iconic conclusions. But even with all its great moments, I do have some negative things to say that you should take with the most microscopic grain of salt. This is probably the biggest gripe I have with this show. Now, since I began writing this video, I have watched even further ahead than I initially stated, with the promise that the animation does improve, and it did. If you can keep pushing through beyond the 12 Temples arc, you'll see a really great improvement in the style and the number of frames used. When I first started watching this show, it became quite apparent that there would be a lot of reused shots and animations, which isn't inherently bad to cut back on production time. It honestly gives it some character and reminds me of a day when I would sit down and watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up. The thing is, the animation itself might have aged poorly, but not quite to the point of being unwatchable. You just need an acquired taste, and the fortitude to keep on watching for the tale that's being told. So yeah, I will say that the animation is pretty bad, but if you like the show, then just keep watching. It's great. If there's one thing I really can't defend much, it's the pacing of each arc. From everything I've seen so far, it's always our main group of heroes pulling up to one place, each of them being matched against someone, and then they all team up to fight their leader. This happens every single arc, with the Black Saints arc having bad guys predestined for each other. You got Pegasus versus Dark Pegasus, Cygnus versus Dark Cygnus, and so on. It really felt like lazy writing on an overused trope in that instance, but over time I have seen it improve slightly, with everyone they go up against becoming stronger and more well developed. Is it weird that I honestly am getting more enjoyment from this non-canon arc that's taking place in Asgard than I did with the 12 Temples arc? Am I crazy? Well, maybe I am. Probably, but I'll die on this hill. When it comes to Saint Seiya, you can always expect an action-packed adventure with close calls, manly brawls, and no punches to the balls. Every single episode there is a fight of some kind going down, and it's completely uncensored. If I had seen this as a kid, I would have been honestly hooked right from the get-go, because what kid doesn't want to see guys punching other guys while wearing sick armor? But now as a fully grown adult, I honestly wish there was fewer fights and more time for the boys to just be boys. I want to see them bond outside of battle, really hang out and enjoy a moment's peace together. Seriously, maybe actually build upon the love interest we saw a glimpse of between Seiya and China? Like, God, dude, I just want to see more development. I can't be the only one who thinks this. In conclusion, I think Saint Seiya is a good anime. It's not my favorite anime, it's not the worst one I've ever seen, it's just really good. Honestly, I think my favorite part about it is the feeling of nostalgia it gives me, even though I wasn't alive back then, and I can still appreciate it for all it's done. It's a piece of history, and without it, Bleach might not even be what it is. So, thank you, Saint Seiya. You're a great anime, and I can't wait to keep on watching you. Anyways, guys, I've been Key. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit subscribe, like, all that stuff, you know, YouTuber things, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.